the politicians.
So actually it's time for a break over
Are
here.
so engrossed in politics that
So
they bring their politics into the Raj Bhavan.
Right.
And that is where the problem is.
So we'll continue with that discussion. Mr. Tulsi, I'll start with you over here. You are well versed with the constitutional position. What is your take? Is the role of governor superfluous in current scenario?
No, it's not superfluous. The governor plays a very important role. He is not only the head of the executive. All executive decisions are taken in his name. He also has a legislative function of issuance of ordinances, assent to the bills, also reserving certain bills for the consideration of the president. He is the linchpin between the state and the center. See, we have a quasi-federal structure under the constitution, and you need, there have been instances of the constitutional breakdown when the governor actually has to take on the reins of governance till alternative arrangements are made or till the new government is elected. So it is absolutely important, it's a very vital function. That's how we have been able to preserve democracy. The governors have had to play varied roles through the length and breadth. Over 100 times there has been proclamation of the president's rule in the states.
Mr. Tulsi, I want to pick your brain on a constitutional point. Now, when the constitution was framed, the framers of the constitution at that point of time felt that the governors should not have any discretionary powers. But however, the Sakaria Commission, who went into the center-state relations, I believe made a recommendation that in some exceptional cases, some discretionary powers may be exercised by the governors. So what do you think? Should the governors have discretionary powers?
I don't think so. In a parliamentary system, the president and the governors should more be like the Queen in England. There should not be any scope for confrontation between the elected government and the appointed governor. We must know that in a democracy, power vests with the people, and it's the elected representatives who must have the final say in the matter of governance.
So like the Queen, they should just look pretty and you know, and act as the Lord Sahib. Right?
Yes, and we should perhaps have younger men and women as governors.
That's an interesting point. Professor Puri, should the governors have discretionary powers?
I believe not. You see, after all, the people's representatives, it's a living democracy where the people have sent their representatives who are obliged to apply their mind and evolve policies for the welfare of the people. Now, if you bring on somebody who says that your collective wisdom or your collective thinking falls short of such and such thing, and therefore I am vetoing it or I am rejecting your advice, I don't think it would be in consonance with the spirit of the constitution makers. You see, the governor is there to perhaps to advise and guide and supervise, but not to interfere. That is not against, not in the spirit of the constitution.
Now, after the Justice Sakaria Commission, we had the Justice Punchi Commission, which has gone into the center-state relations. I believe the Justice Punchi Commission has kind of made a recommendation on the appointment, the system of the appointment of governors, where the Chief Minister of the state also needs to be consulted. Is that a correct thing?
Well, why not? I mean, after all, somebody is appointed on the advice of a variety or a number of people, whether they are institutions or individuals or parties or whatever. Now, if the Chief Minister is also consulted, and since he has to carry on the administration of the state, I think it would be only proper to have some kind of resonance to start with. And what would one gain by not consulting the Chief Minister and appointing somebody whom the Chief Minister is probably not aware of or not in tune with or doesn't have that resonance? We won't gain anything, whereas we gain much more when the Chief Minister has a say in suggestion, if not advice.
Okay. General Shibar, in your time when you were appointed the governor, I believe the call was taken by the Prime Minister's office and the Home Minister's office primarily. I don't think the Chief Ministers were consulted.
I don't know anything.
But would you favor the
I
consultation
don't
of
know
the Chief
anything.
Minister?
I was rung up by Chief Minister from Delhi and he said, General Sahab Mubarak ho, you've been appointed governor of
But that
Punjab.
time, in your
It
case,
was about 9
it
o'clock
was
at
a
night.
different situation.
And next morning, yeah, he came
So
to
you feel nothing wrong in the Chief Minister being
No,
consulted?
I will tell you what the problem is.
Ji.
I think the Chief Ministers will have no problem if you appointed people who were not politicians. But when you appoint politicians, the Congress will always appoint a congressman as this thing in a state which is governed by Akalis, or for that matter by other parties. And I think that is where the difference of opinion will come about.
This has been negative by the Supreme Court in the latest constitution bench in 2010 itself, where the argument was that the governors should be eminent people from various fields, but the Supreme Court says they can as well be from the political stream, because they have they imbibe the ethos of democracy,
No, that is
and that is not a disqualification. So therefore, according to the Supreme Court now, it's not a disqualification to appoint somebody from the political hue, and also it's not a ground to remove them if the government in the center changes. And the argument before the Supreme Court that you cannot, the center said that we want to remove them because they are not in sync with our policy. They say a governor is not supposed to be in sync with any policy. The governor is only a titular head, and it's a government which is enforcing implementing the policy. So therefore you can't remove governors.
So Mr. Tulsi,
Let me come to the second point, Mr. Tulsi. The Justice Munshi Committee also recommended that the governor should have a 5-year fixed tenure, and they could be removed only by impeachment proceedings in the State Assembly. Now that's a completely kind of a very landmark kind of a recommendation.
That's I think it would require complete restructuring of the constitutional structure. He is the representative of the president in the state, and how can he be removed by an authority lower than the president? So I don't think it would fit with, unless the governors were elected like in the United States. Ours is a quasi-federal structure. This recommendation would fit in only with a complete federal structure.
right, Mr. Puri, what is your view on the removal
Yes,
of the governors?
I think this would be taking things too far and overlooking the basic fundamental fact of the Constitution representing the sovereign will of the people. The state governments do not have an iota of sovereignty. They have defined functions under the Constitution. Impeachment is a function which is possible and is possible only on the part of a sovereign authority. The House, the Parliament is sovereign, and thus in exercise of that sovereignty they are initiating the impeachment proceedings, which is not the case with the states.
We have an ex-governor with us, though one wishes a governor is never removed, but should the situation come to that, what should be the system of removal of a governor? Should it be changed, or the present system is fine?
I think present system is very an honorable way of doing things.
So you won't want the State Assembly to pass a...
No.
That won't be it.
State Assembly, he has given the reasoning very correctly. Then tomorrow the State Assembly will say that we will impeach the Chief Justice of the High Court also.
No, but
Yes, Mr.
then
Tulsi.
in that case, that is possible only if the governor was either elected
Yeah.
by the state or appointed by the state government. So that would mean a radical change in the
I
system.
believe the Constituent Assembly even debated this issue, whether the governor should be elected.
You
But
see,
I think that will bring about a complete confusion.
India
The Chief Minister is elected, the governor is elected.
we have adopted a unitary constitution. It has streaks of federalism, but we can't take it so far. Under the present constitutional structure, we will be destabilizing the constitution if we were to make the institution of the governor subservient to the state legislature.
Right. So obviously the election of a governor is completely out.
It seems to be not under the present system, because then we have to rewrite the entire constitution and the division of powers between the center and the states.
Okay.
This will completely destabilize the structure, the unitary structure of the constitution. We have worked so well because it's unitary. Otherwise, there would have been collapse of the constitutional governance even in the center.
But is there some way in which, Dilshabar, you think the governors need to be given a slightly bigger role in some way? For example, in Chandigarh, of course, since the governor is also the administrator of
very
UT, so
different.
it's a
I
very
had
different
plenty
situation.
to do in Chandigarh. I also, within Punjab, it was there. I headed certain things. For example, Red Cross was under me. Child and women welfare was under the governor. I dealt with those departments. Probably that was a part of the preceding 10-15 years when the governor rule was there most of the time.
No, I'm only asking this because you see a lot of times the governors, especially if they are active politicians, they feel a little kind of caged in that in the environments of the
such
Rajya.
departments could be made, the governor could be linked with them. Red Cross, what is the arm? Blood banks.
I think they still are, perhaps, to the best of my knowledge.
So
I think.
those,
Yes.
I mean, there he has a role to play.
The harmless kind of organizations are still put under the
But not
government.
active politics.
Yeah.
The governors can
Yes,
still
yes.
give them the benefit of their experience.
Correct.
But that's only counsel.
Okay.
It's not as if they endorse the government.
I was also head of the Defence Services Welfare Department.
Okay. Now,
Department I have.
Professor Puri, I remember 356 was misused in the 70s and 80s. Of late, one hasn't been hearing of the use or misuse of 356. What do you think has changed in the last 20 years?
A greater sense of responsibility on the part of the governors, buttressed by the general rhythm of politics as it has evolved. There are not great many contradictions or tensions in the sphere of exercise of authority. And as long as the spirit of the Constitution is observed to guide the actions and the policies by the elected representatives, I think there is no reason to upset the system.
Also, if you notice, most of the time the blame actually went to the Congress, not to the BJP or the other parties. So, do you think the Congress is more to blame for, kind of interfering
Well,
with
Congress has
elected
ruled
state governments?
Congress has ruled for a longer period.
Yes.
But the point is that even the Congress realizes that there is an anti-incumbency factor. So if you dismiss the government and then go in for elections, the sympathy is going to be with the other party. And this realization amongst the parties, this is a process of maturity being gained by the political parties themselves in the art of governance, that it becomes counterproductive to remove the government.
Okay.
So howsoever inconvenient it may be, it's better to let them.
Mr.
Right.
Tulsi, actually the time is not allowing us to move forward. But before we actually close, Kamarji, I would like to have your take on that. Do we need the office of governor at all?
Oh, of course, I think we need the office of the governor, Jasleen, because what is the other option? The other option would be to give more powers to the Vidhan Sabha Speaker.
Okay.
And Vidhan Sabha Speaker, as we all know, are elected representatives, and also they belong to the ruling party. So that could create absolute havoc. But I think you need the office of the governor, as our friends here also say. But I think what you need to do is, I think, bring about some corrective measures as far as the system of the appointment and possibly even in their role.
Right. Thank you all for participating in this discussion. The framers of the Constitution had carefully drafted a role for the governor. However, on the basis of experience, it is clear that the system of appointment, removal and role of the governor needs to be redefined. With that, we end Day and Night Prime. See you again tomorrow, same time. Good luck and goodbye.